Hello, friends. My name is Sridhar. I'm from Hyderabad. I'm basically into international immigration services. Uh, I I'm just beginning to start videos, YouTube videos uh, for international foreign affairs. So whatever I have gone through, various sources and various books, I would just wish to share the knowledge with you. I'm not a degree holder in foreign affairs, but still, through my knowledge, whatever I gained through reading various books, various sources through net, I would wish to share the knowledge. Now, I would wish to put it this way. I wish to begin it from uh, the, the period from First World War, international affairs from the First World War. The First World War began in 1914 and ended in 1919. The reason for initiating the First World War, it is said, Germany is the reason. And the First World War resulted in Germany losing the war, and there were various sanctions that was put on Germany after the First World War. Once German was being put with the burden of financial penalty for initiating the World War One, uh, its economy was completely in a very bad shape. So Germany was really struggling to come out of that and get into the normal situation it was before the First World War. Now, Germany was paying a huge penalty uh, for having initiated the World War, and in this process, in 1930s, uh, Hitler comes into the picture. Hitler he starts his party called Nazi Party, and he runs for the elections, and he in the first elections he loses, but in the second time when he runs for the elections he wins. And before he wins the first before he wins the election, Germany had democratic form of government, and once he wins the elections, and he being the president of the party, the head of the party, founder and head of the party, he changes the law of German constitution, and makes it in such a way that it is more suitable for him to govern the nation in the form of dictatorship. And he becomes the president, and later on he puts much of his efforts in making Germany a military power. He mobilizes all the government human resource or manpower to work for the military weaponizations, and also during that time he has used the German public servants or public employees working for the country for building the country's infrastructure in the form of roads at that period. Then later on, as his efforts are towards the military building, he makes a sizable military power in his country, and then he starts to uh, attack his neighboring countries like Poland, Austria, and few other countries. It doesn't take much time for him to uh, defeat these countries, and he defeats this country, and he would have his influence in these regions where he has won the war. And at this time, when he was uh, getting into war with various nations, Britain, France, Russia, they were a bit skeptical that Germany would Germany would eventually uh, go for a war with France and UK. In those days, UK was a military power, global military power, the number one military power. Uh, so Germany doubts that Russia would, at one time in the coming days, would attack his nation. So he goes for war with Russia. So he, in his effort to go for war with Russia, he almost goes up to the point of about 100 kilometers away from Moscow. Uh, but he wouldn't go, his army wouldn't go beyond uh, that uh, 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 area where he has had his army dominate the Russian region that was just up to 100 kilometers away from Russia. Now, what Russia does, what Russia does is it tries to dismantle all the infrastructure it had in that region so that it would make Germany even more difficult while approaching Moscow. So this has resulted in Germany uh, getting into difficulty in further proceeding towards Moscow. He has dismantled and destroyed much of the Russian infrastructure in terms of factory industries that were there in that area, in that location, so that German wouldn't steal off his assets or they wouldn't uh, take over the Russian assets, industry assets. So, other than that, it was a time when it was winter over there, and German soldiers were not in a position to cope up with the weather conditions of the Russian winter. So, that has resulted in German army not further proceeding towards Moscow. Now, in this time, the Russian head Stalin, he tries to negotiate with the European Western powers, that is UK, and also USA, United States, to help him out from that situation. They do help him out in form of supplying some military firepower. While Germany is waging war with Russia on its eastern front, UK, that is British, was attacking Germany from its west. For Germany to balance the situation on the both fronts was difficult. So eventually, even USA enters into the World War Two, sorry, and USA enters into World War Two after its warship Pearl Harbor being bombed by Japan. USA loses about say 2 to 3 thousand of its army. It was then USA decides that it should enter into World War II. Then USA enters into war, but uh, in the form of supplying the military power to the Western European countries. So, in the German efforts to conquer most part of the European uh, land, it also attacks France and it defeats France in just a span of 1 to 2 days, not more than that. So, now the next nation to go into a full-fledged war would be UK and Germany, and parallelly, Germany is already involved with Russia. The British soldiers, they did not have the courage to go for war against Germany. For the reason Germany had the most advanced military weaponry of the time. So uh, the then Prime Minister of UK, Winston Churchill, he motivates his army to stand for war against Germany. Now, what happens? Now, UK starts to attack Germany from its west side, and one from one side is Russia, and Russia is now bit successful in pushing back the German's army, which has quite further entered into the Russia. Now, Russian army, they enter into Germany, they enter into Berlin, which is the capital of Germany, and by the time the army reaches Hitler's place, they get to know that Hitler has attempted suicide. Now, there is no evidence that whether Hitler has killed himself, because there were no remains of Hitler that could be found by the Russian army uh, to really testify that or really prove that Hitler has indeed attempted suicide. When Germany enters into the when Russia enters into the Berlin, British is just 50 kilometers away from Berlin. So Russia claims that it is Russia which has defeated Germany, which was then a power, military power of the region. But UK, it doesn't go by that version. They claim that it is because of them Germany was defeated. Now, post Hitler's death, USA further continues the war into Japan. Japan by then has already bombed Pearl Harbor. Now, USA, in an attempt to give a good lesson, strong lesson to Japan, it drops atomic bomb onto Hiroshima, the city called Hiroshima. It could have very well bombed Tokyo then, but for some reason they have bombed Hiroshima, and the reason for that, they say, is Japan had much of its military base in Hiroshima. In, after 10 minutes, sir, after bombing Hiroshima, after bombing Hiroshima, USA wants Japan to surrender. Japan wouldn't do that. Now, after 1 or 2 days period, it would again bomb Nagasaki. Now, the effect of these bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki was so devastating that the moment the bomb was dropped, the bomb exploded on these cities, it had not taken more than 1 or few seconds for 1 lakh population of the city to perish immediately. And further, the rays, the atomic rays, the nuclear radiations out of these bombs has further inflicted more deaths into the population of those cities. Now realizing the damage the USA has caused on Japan, and Japan realizing that the bombs dropped on its nation were the kind of bombs that were never seen. They were completely new, and they were never seen that kind of bomb of that scale of destruction. So subsequently, Japan gave up and it surrendered to USA. Now, what happened to Japan after Japan surrendered to USA? So, once Japan surrendered to USA, and again, what happened to Germany after Germany was defeated by Russia and UK? So, these Russia and UK were allied, Axis, Germany and Japan were Axis powers. They were the partners in the World War. Along with them was Italy as well. Now, the Allied powers, the opposite powers were called Allied powers, and that comprised UK, France, Russia, USA. These belong to the Allied side, and Japan and Germany belong. They belong to Axis side. After Germany was defeated, Germany was made into two parts. The eastern part was given to Russia for the reason that Germany has caused a lot of human as well as the financial and economic loss to Moscow during the Second World War. The number of deaths in Russia, it is said, was more than 2 to 3 crores then. Now, these deaths comprise the local population as well as the army. Okay, so the loss that was created to Russia, for that reason, the eastern part of Germany was passed to Russia, while the western part was in the influence of the western powers, that is USA and UK. Eastern Germany, being in the influence of Russia, has not much progress, while the Western Germany, being in the influence of the Western powers, with the democratic practices that was followed after the World War II, that has progressed a lot. Now, what about Berlin? Berlin was the capital city. Now, even Berlin was divided into two, a part of which was kept by Russia, a part of another part was kept by the Western powers. Now, there were many who were infiltrating from East Germany to West Germany, for which there was a German wall that was built between East and West Germany, so that there wouldn't be infiltration of the population from East Germany to West Germany. Okay, now West Germany was progressing very fast, and after a certain period of time, the Allied powers have decided not to further control West Germany, which was its influence. West Germany used to pay heavy penalty every year because it has initiated the Second World War. Even though West Germany was paying the penalty, but it was progressing quite fast economically. That was not the case for East Germany. In 19 in late 1980s, it was decided that East and West Germany should unite again and be as one nation. And it was then the Wall was put down. So the complete East and West now was called as one Germany. Now coming to Japan, after the after losing the war with US, it came to the complete control of US. The democratic policies were followed over there. The people over there started working very hard. So hard, the rise of their economy was almost over 10% annually. And the time has reached where Japan came to be known as one of the economic powers of the globe. The GDP of Japan, it rose to that level that it was only next to USA. It was only next to USA. And now coming to Germany, Germany was not far behind. It was progressing quite fast, and even Germany came out to be one of the world economic powers, and its GDP was uh, third biggest in the globe. That was much bigger than UK and Russia as well as France. Now, after the Second World War, United Nations was formed, which was earlier known as League of Nations. Under the name League of Nations, this body couldn't stop the World War II. So they have just uh, started a new organization by the name United Nations. Under United Nations, there were certain policies that were framed under which countries were not supposed to colonize other countries. And it is said it is because of this reason that India was liberated. India was liberated because colonizing was not appreciated by US. And before Second World War, it was only UK which was known to be a big power. After US entering into the Second World War, now the countries got to see the military power US had and also the economic power US had. After the Second World War, the economic uh, resources of the European nations were completely depleted for the reason that that region was completely involved for a long period. And those Western nations of Europe needed a financial support to bounce back. And this financial support was given by USA to these Western countries. And a major chunk of this financial support was taken by UK again. And UK had always seen that it never got into bad books of US. It always wanted to be in the good books of US. Whatever US said, they blindly supported US. For the reason it was only because of US that in the Second World War, these allied nations could win the war. Now, United Nations body was formed. There were four permanent members. USA, France was made one permanent member. UK, the other country was Russia. Actually, uh, though allied powers, including Russia, were together to defeat Germany, but once after the end of the World War II, a Cold War started to sprung up between USA and Russia. USA and the Western allies, European allies, Western nations of Europe, never wanted Russia to be a power. So it never wanted to bring Russia into the fold of these permanent nations, permanent members of United Nations, but eventually Russia was given that. Now there were four permanent members in 1960s. Around that period, uh, China was not a permanent member. China was made a permanent member in late 1960s. And what was the reason why China was not made? And actually, China was not recognized in the United Nations as one of its normal members. Leave aside the permanent member. Even as a normal nation, it was not included. One of the member nations was not included. The reason being, in China, uh, the ruler of the China was defeated by a new party there, a communist party, and they were limited to the region which is now called as Taiwan. It's now called as Taiwan. So once this so-called the ruling power of China, they were now just limited to Taiwan, and there they practiced democracy. And while Taiwan was known to be Republic of China, the name of the nation was Republic of China, whereas the mainland of China, which was now controlled by the Communist Party, they were named that mainland China. That part was named as People's Republic of China, and this People's Republic of China was not considered as a member of United Nations. Not I'm not talking about a permanent member. Was not just even considered as a permanent member, normal member. Whereas Republic of China, that is Taiwan, it was considered. Now, what happened that resulted in People's Republic of China, that is now the mainland China, uh, they were accepted as a member in United Nations, but also they were given permanent membership. What was the reason for that? Though they were never a normal member. Uh, America was in war with Vietnam. It was unable to win over Vietnam. So it felt that if they sought the support of People's Republic of China, then it could defeat Vietnam. So it requested the support of People's Republic of China, that is the mainland China. They have agreed to support America, but in spite of that, they were unable to combine the power of USA and People's Republic of China, that is mainland China, were unable to overwhelm Vietnam. So, because mainland China, that is People's Republic of China, has helped USA, that has helped the People's Republic of China to get into a United Nations membership, and further, it was also offered the permanent membership. And this membership was actually given to India, which was not uh, uh, accepted by our then Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru. So, so eventually that was passed on to China. Even the suggestion to be passed on to China was given by our then Prime Minister, Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru. So it became a permanent member, China, and USA was never able to defeat Vietnam. In fact, USA lost over a lakh or 2 lakhs of its soldiers in its effort to defeat Vietnam, which has not happened. And again, coming to the Korean region, Korea was made into two parts. The southern region of the Korea was under the influence of US Allied forces, whereas the northern region was in the influence of USSR. The northern region has not developed much, whereas the South Korea has really progressed a lot and is now considered as one of the most advanced nations in the Asia Pacific region. Now, uh, North Korea has not progressed much, whereas South Korea progressed because of it was in the influence, military as well as economic influence of USA. That was a part of Korea. And even Japan developed because it was in the influence of US. Because Japan was able to manufacture its goods and send, export it to US and make business out of that, and that helped Japan to grow very fast. Now, before First World War, before Japan was defeated in the Second World War, before Japan was defeated in the Second World War, Japan attacked China and has annexed more than half of its mainland China. More than half of the mainland China was in the control of Japan until the Second World War. As Japan lost the war to USA, that mainland China was liberated from Japan. So, in that sense, China should always be thankful to USA because it was USA which liberated Japan, which otherwise made China its colony. But China has forgotten that very fast. It doesn't remember that. Now, after it was liberated, then the uh, ruling king was just defeated by the Communist Party and he was driven away to the now called Taiwan. And this has resulted in Japan, Korea, and Germany develop lot, progress lot. Now, USA being in Cold War with Russia, uh, there was always a tense moment and there was always a competition to prove among themselves that their country was most advanced militarily or even technologically. In the same effort to prove themselves as the most technologically advanced nation, Russia sends its first human to the space. Now, to counter the Russian achievement, America challenges uh, Russian achievement by trying to send a human to moon. But it takes about 14 years for USA to achieve that feat. It's not immediate, but still it is very controversial even to this day whether really on that time of that era USA had really sent its astronauts to moon. It's a controversy because even the pics that we get to see of the astronauts, they don't look to be natural pics. Like they look to be more taken in studios.